Okay, so here we are after our install, and we're prompted to sign in to Visual Studio. This is just a Microsoft account. So if you have like an account for Xbox or whatever, it works the same thing. What I'm going to tell you though is at this point in time, let's just have y'all skip this for now. You are going to have to sign into a Microsoft account at some point because while the license for Visual Studio Community is free, they do make you sign into a Microsoft account at some point to keep doing that. So I'll show you where you do that. But I want you to do this for now, just because I need to do it this way. If I signed into my account, what would happen is it would sync all my settings across the devices I have, and then I wouldn't be able to show you how to set up some of those settings the way you're going to for the first time. So I'm going to skip this for now, and you can too. And then at this point, you can choose a theme that your software looks like. I usually pick the dark theme. Most of the videos that I show you will be in dark theme. So sometimes they'll be in the blue, but most of the time in the dark theme. It depends on what I'm trying to show and if the dark theme makes it hard to see or something like that. Don't worry if you pick one and you don't like it. I'll show you where you can go back to change it. Do this though too under the development settings here at the top. Notice you can work with JavaScript in this, other languages too. We're going to work with a different language, learn some of the same concepts you did with JavaScript in Blackbird, but we're going to use Visual Basic to do that. So changing the development settings to Visual Basic is going to help you some at this point too, where you won't have to change as many settings down the road. So let's pick Visual Basic. And then here again, doesn't matter to me what theme you pick, and I'll show you where you can change that, and we'll say start Visual Studio. Now this might take a little bit of time here the first time. Okay, I actually paused my recording here for a minute because it was taking quite a while to do that. I would say if it's, I have heard that, you know, if you wait a reasonable amount of time and it just doesn't make it through that process and open it up, go ahead and reboot your computer and then open Visual Studio and you should be fine. Okay, so at this stage of the game, after we've picked the general design environment to be Visual Basic, we picked a theme or whatever. We skipped making an account right now. I'll show you where you'll want to do that or log into your account here in a minute. You'll notice on this Visual Studio screen, it's pretty sparse as far as what's here. We can create a new project, which is what you'll do certainly at the beginning. As far as if you've had some recent projects on the machine, you'll see those listed here. How helpful that is for you depends on if you get to use your own machine or if it's a machine at school that other people use. So you might not be able to necessarily do that stuff. Let's continue without code at this point. So we're not creating a project or anything. We're just going to continue without the code. And so then we get this window right here, which is telling us the new things that are in this version of Visual Studio 2022, the Community Edition. Okay, and so we're in here. Let me get my menus lined up in my recording window. Sorry about that. At this point in time, this is just you'll notice this main window right here, it's a tab in here and you can get a bunch of tabs in here. So I'm just even going to close out that tab. So right now I got nothing going on in here. As far as going up to the help window here, and if I go to About Microsoft Visual Studio, you'll notice here we've got this license status right here. And right now, see, we're not signed into an account kind of thing. At some point, you might get a prompt that you need to log into account or your license isn't going to work anymore. Especially if you know you're going to be using Visual Studio on more than one machine, it's awful nice to log in because your settings will sync across to other devices. I'm not going to do that right now either because I want to show you some of the basic settings we want to set up so that we can see things the same way, and then we'll call this video over because it's going to get too long. So I'm going to close out of this help menu here right now, and we're going to go up to tools, and we're going to go down all the way to the bottom to options. Okay. And in here, Visual Studio has a ton of settings. Here, notice though, the very first thing under General is that dark setting. If you find you don't like the dark setting, you can certainly go in here and change it to something else. I'm going to close that up right now. I'm going to go to Projects and Solutions and down to Locations, excuse me. So under Projects and Solutions, Locations. One thing you're going to notice is you're going to be creating projects, and you're going to have to zip those project folders together and upload them to turn them in. There is something about this is not going to be as convenient as it was in Blackbird, but at the same time, I want you to experience having to do this part of it. Okay, so I think the easiest thing for everybody here is going to just be when you need to find these project folders, if we just have them out on the desktop, that way that's where your projects are going to go to. If you want to make things really simple for yourself as far as all your Visual Basic stuff, you can set all these to desktop just so we know we're not missing one. There is a disadvantage to this. One disadvantage is you got all these folders that are going to get created on the desktop. I don't personally like that. I like a clean desktop, but at the same time, this will help you find your projects when you need to. Okay, so we'll close up Projects and Solutions. We're going to go down here to Text Editor, and we're going to go to All Languages, and we're going to go to General. And under that, what you'll want to do is click on line numbers here till it has a check mark right there, and click on navigation bar till it has a check mark right there. And that way, there's a couple of things, the way I use Visual Studio, that with those settings, it'll look the same as what I show you. And if you don't have that set, it would look differently. So we want to make sure that we've got that set there. So right now, the other thing you might want to do is just go down and pin Visual Studio 2022 to your taskbar at the bottom of your Windows screen, and that way it'll be always right there if you're ready to open it. If you want to do that, certainly we'll be opening things via project files, and we'll show that to you in a little while as well. But that's kind of your basic now that you've got this installation. Do note you might get prompts for updates. In general, it'll probably be okay to apply updates that you get unless you hear from me that you shouldn't update because it's changed something. So if you do get a prompt for an update, it's probably prudent to ask, and then we'll all make sure that we update at the same time.